Okay, let's jump right into our deep dive today. We're looking at Job chapter 9.
Ah, yes. A really intense chapter.
It really is. This is where Job is really grappling with the sheer power of God.
Right. And specifically how someone, a human being, could possibly stand before that kind of power.
Can you even make your case? That seems to be his core question here.
Exactly. And what's striking is Job isn't denying God's power or wisdom. Not at all. He starts by acknowledging it fully.
He accepts that power.
But then he pivots. He says, because God is so wise and powerful, it makes it basically impossible for a human to be considered righteous.
Righteous meaning what, like morally perfect?
Yeah.
Or just in the right?
Both, really. In the right, legally, morally pure. He feels you couldn't win a single point in an argument against God. Not one in 1,000 tries.
And he gives these incredible descriptions of that power. It's not just theoretical.
Well, very vivid.
Things like God moving mountains and apparently nobody even realizing it happened.
Or shaking the earth right down to its foundations.
And controlling the cosmos, telling the sun not to shine, sealing up stars. He even mentions specific constellations.
Yeah, the Bear, Orion, the Pleiades. It's this sense of absolute cosmic control.
But it's not just the huge scale, is it?
No, that's a great point. He also sees it in, well, God treading on the waves of the sea, performing wonders that are just countless, beyond our ability to even track.
And crucially, this power often feels hidden, like God could just pass by.
And you wouldn't see him. You wouldn't perceive him. That's central to Job's feeling of helplessness.
If God takes something, who can stop him? Who can even question it?
Precisely. Which leads him to this really, quite bleak place.
Yeah, it gets pretty dark. Because faced with this, he feels completely powerless. How could he argue?
He genuinely believes, and this is tough, that even if he knew he was innocent,
His own words would somehow twist against him.
yes, his mouth would condemn him. If he was blameless, his own speech would prove him guilty. It's profound.
That quote really hits hard. Even if I were innocent, my mouth would condemn me.
If I were blameless, it would pronounce me guilty. It captures that feeling of an unwinnable situation. Like the rules themselves are set against you.
A skewed power dynamic, as you said earlier. He feels he wouldn't get a fair hearing, even if God did respond.
Right. He imagines being crushed for no reason, filled with misery, unable to even breathe properly.
And this perception, this feeling that the system isn't fair, leads him to look at the world.
And draw a really challenging conclusion.
That God seems to destroy both the good guys and the bad guys, the blameless and the wicked.
Yeah, it's a raw, difficult view of justice, or maybe the lack of it. He sees sudden catastrophes, wicked people getting ahead, injustice seeming to rule the day.
And that makes him ask that piercing question.
If it is not he, then who is it? If God isn't somehow behind this seeming randomness or injustice, then who could possibly be?
It pushes him to despair, doesn't it? To almost despise his own life because fairness seems absent.
Utterly. His own life feels so incredibly fragile in the face of all this.
He uses those metaphors, life being faster than a runner, like flimsy papyrus boats.
Or like an eagle diving for prey, just gone in an instant. And filled with dread, not joy.
He tries to shake it off, right? Put on a brave face.
He mentions trying, but the dread of suffering is always there. He's convinced, absolutely convinced, that even if he washed himself with soap, made himself perfectly clean,
He'd still end up plunged into a slime pit, as he puts it. Seen as guilty anyway.
it's that deep sense of unavoidable condemnation in God's eyes.
Yeah.
Makes trying seem futile.
So, trapped between his own weakness and this terrifying, seemingly indifferent divine power, what does he actually want? What's the flicker of hope?
Well, it's a longing for connection, for mediation.
An arbiter, someone to stand in the middle.
Exactly. Someone, he says, who could lay his hand upon us both. A go-between. He wants God's rod, that terrifying presence, removed so he could actually speak freely, without fear.
But he feels he can't do that on his own.
No. The power imbalance is just too great. He needs an intermediary, someone to bridge that huge gap.
So, thinking about this chapter, Job 9, what does it really show us? How does it connect with us, today?
I think it taps into something universal. That feeling we all get sometimes when facing overwhelming power. Maybe it's nature, maybe huge systems we don't control, or for Job, the divine.
That sense of being small against something immense.
Right, and it highlights that deep human need we have to understand suffering, especially when it seems unjust or random, and that longing for connection, for mediation, when faced with the incomprehensible.
It really does resonate. Okay, here's something maybe to ponder after hearing Job's struggle. If, as Job felt, even innocence isn't enough to guarantee your standing when facing immense power, where do you find solid ground?
Where do you find that footing to ask for justice, or even just to understand what's happening?
A challenging thought to leave you with.